All right, Kara. So from what I understood from your email, what you're trying to do is have a single click do multiple things. There's a couple different ways we can accomplish what you were trying to do, but as you noticed, when you have an interactive element like a button or a click box, the actions are pretty much one-to-one. You can do one thing when you click that button. If you would like to do multiple things, there is a way to do that, and I'll show you that in just a second. But let me show you a simple way of doing what I think you're trying to accomplish, which what I've got here is a little sample of, I think what you're trying to do is when you click this button, have all three objects show at the same time, even though they're different kinds of objects. The easiest way to do this is just group these objects together and then have a show of the group. So let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm just holding down the Shift key to multi-select the three objects, and then under Edit I can group them together. You can also Control G to group them, or you can right click and group them as well. Once they're grouped together, you can see how they're moving around together here, and there's a little bit of a frame around them. They now have a new name as a group, in this case Group 2, and I'm just going to rename it Bird Stuff. So now on my menu button, I can have it show, I'll just, it's a little off the screen there, and then I can select Bird Stuff. So it will show the entire group when I'm doing that. Now I also want to make sure that this thing is not visible, so it's hidden when I do the preview or when I get into the slide. So I'm just going to preview the slide here. So as you can see, they're not shown. When I hit the button, all three things get shown at the same time. So that's the simplest way, just kind of get a group of things to show at the same time. But let me show a more complex way that you can do a lot of different things when that button is clicked. So I'm going to ungroup these. So I'll go back to Edit and Ungroup. So now I've got my three individual objects. I'm going to rename them because what I'm going to show you is what's called an advanced action. And an advanced action is essentially a list of different kinds of actions that you can have all at the same time. So essentially I can assign this program or this group of actions to this one button, and it could be show, it could be enable, it could be disable, it could be play, it could be any number of actions, open URL, so you can do a mix and match of different kinds of actions all with that one click. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename these, because as you start doing advanced actions, you're kind of programming this, and it's good to have names that are going to mean something versus image 2 or smart object 5 or what have you, especially if you've got lots of different things going on your slides. So I'm going to call this bird image. I'm going to call the middle one bird title. And I'm going to call the third one bird details. Best practice is definitely to come up with a naming convention for these if you've got different types or they're related and that sort of thing. So I know all of these start with the word bird, so they'll be easy to find in a list. If I have a program that has hundreds of objects, having a good naming convention will be key here. And you'll see in just a second why that is. So what we're going to do is create an advanced action. You do that under the project menu, and that's the first option here, advanced actions. And as I mentioned, what an advanced action is essentially just a list of actions that will fire when you do that one click. So I'm going to call this show all. Alright, and down here in the main body of the action is just where I'm going to put the list of actions. So if I double click on the first line and the second box here, what I get is a drop down list, and I have all the actions that I had in the properties panel. So I can come down to the show one, and then I can select the item. So you can imagine if you've got 100 items in your project, they would all be listed here because your advanced action doesn't know which slide you happen to be wanting to use this on, so it's going to let you basically access to any particular object. So I have bird image, and then I'm just going to double click again and do show bird title, and the last one show bird text or bird detail. Now you can put any of your actions in here. So if I wanted to also open a URL, I could come down here and say open URL and open up www.google.com in addition to showing these particular objects. So you're not limited by just show or hide. You can do any of the actions that you could do with the button as well. So you can get pretty advanced as far as what you're doing here. You can make whole scenes appear and disappear. You can show and hide in the same action as well. So if you wanted to make something disappear and make something show, you can do that in here as well. I'm not going to do that for this particular line. You've got a series of toolbar buttons at the top here. One is the little trash can, so that'll remove that particular line. So all I've got is my 3 show actions, and I'm going to hit save. So what we're doing is saving these 3 actions into one advanced action called show all. So I'm going to hit save. And now that's saved with my project. Now what I need to do is assign this particular button on screen to that action. So my on success action is going to be execute advanced action, and then because I only have one advanced action, it defaults there. But if I had 10 or 20, you could select the one that you actually wanted to fire off when you click the button. All right. So now when I do next 5 slides, again, you know, all my stuff is hidden there. I've come to the pause on my button, and when I click the button, all 3 objects show. All right. Now the big difference between this and what we did with the grouping is advanced actions only do the actions you put into the advanced action. So all we did were the 3 shows. So you'll notice that this project is still paused because we have not released the pause for this button yet, because all our action did was show, show, and show, and that was it. If we actually wanted to do those things and then release the pause, we actually have to add another line into our advanced action, that is continue, that allows the project to continue along. Now if I did hit the forward arrow, I would go to the next slide. But we really don't want the user to do that. We want it to go automatically, or perhaps there'll be a continue button that will move them to the next slide. So that's up to you on how you want to program it. But if we want this button to actually do the continue as well, what we'll need to do is modify our advanced action. So go back to Project, Advanced Action, and on this right side drop down will show you all of the advanced actions in your project. So we only have the one, which is Show All, and then it'll load that into the editor. And we're going to add another action called Continue. And what all Continue does is essentially release any pauses that are on the slide and just continues to play the slide. And I'm going to hit Update, and it says successfully updated. So now if we look back at my project in the timeline here, right now I'm pausing at 1.5 seconds, which is sort of the default for the buttons. And now because we have continue, what's going to happen is it'll pause here. I'll click the button, it'll show, 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 and then it will continue and start playing right here, and it'll play out the remainder to 7.5 seconds, and then it will go to the next slide. So if I do a quick preview here, you'll be able to see this down at the bottom. So now we're paused, we're at 1.5 seconds. I'm going to hit the More Info button, which will reveal the 3 objects, and then it'll, down in the bottom here, it will continue playing. You'll see it continues playing, and in that 7.5 seconds, it'll go on to the next slide. All right? Give me a call if you have any questions.